This conference will now be recorded.
I'm good. I'm good. How are you, John? Yeah, now I can.
Lucas, now I understand what you were telling me this morning about it was on the agenda for replacing Mr. Bliss on the police personnel board.
Yeah, there it is.
He's still on the council, although he's had it.
Yeah.
Is this like tag on this? I'll save it for later if I want to see. Hi, Randy. Devin? Hello, Devin. How you doing? Win or lose. Monty, IT or Monty? heard you turned 15. I got you last year. But she ought to be able to do pretty good.
I think so. Don't forget her boyfriend. He doesn't get out.
She's got a boyfriend? Council, we have one procedure tonight. I nominated Tim Graves. We'll get that done here in a minute. He's not going to be here for the police personnel board. We have a, Chief Ward has a police personnel board meeting this coming week, and they're going to do examination for police personnel. So we're going to approve that tonight, I hope. So, this is Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Arlene, roll call, please.
Lehman,
Here.
Oldham,
Here.
Dawson,
Here.
Bogus,
Here.
Richardson. Is Richardson on?
Yes, he is on. Mr. Richardson. Hello.
Yes.
Okay.
There he is. Cross, Foster, and Bliss.
Here. And
Yeah.
I said we have one appointment, or I have one appointment to the police personnel board. Tim Graves, the retired educator, is an outstanding candidate for the police board and staff. Go ahead and read that.
To members of the City Council from Mayor John Cady, I would like to make the following recommendation: a new appointment to the Police Personnel Board, Kim Graves, 1901 South Montauk, completing Steve Bliss' term expiring June 2021.
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And Mr. Richardson talked to me today. He thought that Steve was retired from the city council. I said, what? No, what's that all about? What he thought? I'm cool. Yeah. Anyway, thank you. Do we need to just keep the business meeting open and adjourn the special meeting and adjourn to the budget work session? We have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. You ready? Yes, right.
Well, thank you all for the opportunity to go through the budget work session here. We've got a lot to cover, so I'll go through kind of a short presentation to help set it up here, and then we'll dig into the end of the numbers. So for today, the presentation is divided into four sections. The first is we'll go through a summary of revenue and expenditures, but most importantly, the trends of those for the primary revenue system. And then the fund balance. We will review a draft of the budget, and we will look for some specific direction on several items council for the FY22 budget. And then we'll summarize finally.
We need the projector on.
Yeah, that's why you're going. You all don't know what I'm looking at, do you?
Did I say abracadabra?
Yeah. Say please. There we go. So during today's discussion, there will be three guideposts that we'll want to watch closely as they get their impact on the budget. And then number 3 is using customer focus, using more wisely to provide value to the customer and their we believe that these gauges will keep us focused in the right direction and continue a strong history of fiscal discipline, resulting in a healthy and stable organization for years to come. So first of all, to look at sales tax trends. This again is a review from the last meeting where we went through the trends, and so I think it's helpful for us to keep that in mind as we go through the budget. If you'll remember, we had a large dip starting in fiscal year 09. That was the beginning of the recessionary years, and then in FY 20 or 12, we started to climb back out, and then we took another dip in 13 and 14, and then 15 we finally climbed back up to where we were pre-recession. So it took us 6 years to get through that. 16 we had growth, but it was slow again. And FY 17 we had another dip, and then it was flat down. FY 18 through FY 20 we had slow growth, but albeit slow, it was steady growth through those years. And then FY 20 we were at 17.4% above the FY 09 levels, or pre-recessionary line level, which if you average that out over the years, that basically represented a 1.47% year-over-year growth through those 11 years. Then what caused the increase in FY 21 was the 8-cent voter approved amount for the Hecker. So looking again at the numbers, 1.8% is where we're trending this year. We know that some of that, or we feel like there was some COVID effect. We don't really know how much of the COVID or how much COVID affected it. We do know that we were much better off than our neighboring communities and the state as a whole, because we still have an increase, and many of them are having actual decreases in looking at trying to make those tough decisions about how to cut back. We budgeted at 2%, so as you can see, we're just a little bit behind where we budgeted, but it's still not in bad shape. The use tax was approved in August of 2015, and that represents about a 7% increase. You can see relative to graphically, there's the blue for the sales tax, and the green add-on is the use tax. That was approved and started in 2015. And then but the use tax this year is use tax, I'd like to remind everybody, is so dependent on construction. And so it will ebb and flow with construction, and so you really, it will take some pretty wild swings. It is down 2% over FY 20, although FY 20 was a huge year. So, it's being down is not a big issue because we had such an increase in FY 20. So, but then the combined increase is 1.5% over FY 20 compared to the 2% increase, budgeted increase. So we're a little bit behind. If you look at over the 4 years prior to this year, we had about a 4.5% or 4.25% increase over that 4 years, and then again the FY 21 increase really is represented in the increase with the voter approved for the Hecker. When we look at resources allocation, how we allocate those, again, just a reminder that 78% of our general fund expenditures are for personnel costs. So that's the piece we got to look at the closest and monitor the closest. And then the lion's share of that, again, is in public safety. 62% of it is in law enforcement and the fire department. So when we get to the summary of the budget, this is a little bit updated from the one I showed you last week. We went through and made some changes in it, but We're still at a 64%, 64.7% of the general fund balance as it relates to anticipated annual ongoing revenues. Very healthy fund balance, but that allows us to spend down some of that reserve, if you will, at almost $289,000 in the general fund, and we'll go through again in a little more detail of what makes that up. The capital improvements, just to point out, we're going from a $1.2 million beginning fund balance to a $16 million, and then coming back down to a $2 million with a large fund deficit here. That's really timing of the loan, and I've got a slide here to show what that is more in detail. Rest of these are pretty ongoing. The Midtown Special Allocation Fund, that is due to the streetscape, and again, we'll talk about that in a little bit. The most concerning issue is the ongoing with the Sanitation Fund. We're ending the year with an unreserved fund balance of $767,000. So we need to look at that and resolve that ongoing. In total, we're at a little bit of a positive, but that's only because we took a loan from the CIP, or the Capital Improvements Fund, to help offset the past loss. So the considerations: the general fund balance is in the target range, but we must still watch sustainability. As we talked, the sales tax kind of drives the train. It's our largest revenue source. That it represents basically 45% of the total revenue for the general fund. And if you look at the historic average of 1.47%, if all other revenues stay the same, we're at a 0.65% increase in total revenue. Yet expenditures, on the other hand, are personnel is 78% of the total expenditures, and if we increase personnel costs by 3%, which is what we've been doing over the last few years, and all other expenditures stay the same, none of the other expenditures go up, that represents a 2.4% increase in total expenditures. So if you just compare those two major driving forces, with revenue increasing by 0.65% and expenditures increasing by 2.4%, again, ignoring all other expenditures and all other revenues, you can see that we can very quickly get ourselves in trouble where expenditures are growing faster than revenues, and we'll get ourselves back into a corner to where we'll have to start cutting personnel, because that's the only thing left to cut. So I say that just to set the stage and keep that in mind as we go through things, but I'm not trying to be an alarm. So just the bottom line is that we must watch these trends and avoid systemic issues that could reduce our ability to react. Our healthy fund balance at the 64% that I talked about is what keeps us from having those systemic issues and gives us time to react with downturns in the economy or any other issues. So the capital improvements, to go through it, again, I mentioned that we were going from approximately a $1.2 million fund balance to a 16.3 to back to 2.3. And that's really timing issues with the debt refinancing. We refinanced the debt that built the fire headquarters and the bridge, Washington Street Bridge rehab, and the library rehab. We were able to reduce the interest rate in doing so, and reduce our debt service by about $30,000 a year in total. And then we also financed the community center with that same debt issue, which was closed in June, and the construction is ongoing, and basically will go through FY22. So that's why you see that large increase in the fund balance to $16.3 million is really that represents the debt coming in, or the funds proceeds from the debt coming in, but yet not all of it spent out yet on the construction. By the end of FY22, we expect all of that to be paid out on construction, and so that brings us back down to our normal fund balance. Make sense? The Central Business and Cultural District, the CBCD fund, we got a balance going from basically $91,000 to $104,000 back down to $60,000, and that is intentionally spending down some of those reserves. The reserves are higher than they need to be. They're up about 200% of the total revenue, so bringing it down to $60,000 still brings us above 100% of the annual revenue, and what we're intending to spend that down is on facade grants for bricks and mortar to improve the downtown. The Midtown Special Allocation Fund, again, you'll see, in the summary that we went from about a $336,000 fund balance to $0 to $2,000, and that was, we intentionally pulled forward the streetscape on Ohio to get it all done, and we we were looking at doing that 1 year or one block at a time to stay within the funds that were generated by the TIF, or the Tax Increment Financing District. But we wanted to just go ahead and bite the bullet, get that done, so we advanced money from the Capital Improvement Fund to be able to get all of that done. So there's $825,000 needed for this year, and so we spent all of that 336 reserve, and then took another 310,000 from the CIP to cover that 825,000, and we're repaying a portion of that in FY22, the 107,000. So by next year, we should be back to even have the capital improvement repay for that. The special revenue for transportation has built a fund balance, and we use much of this fund balance, or the reserves, to do the hangar purchase. When opportunity knocks, we were able to use those reserves to take advantage of that and get that hangar purchase. This budget draft includes replenishing, the way we did that out of reserves, we did about $1.5 million out of the transportation reserves and $1 million out of the CIP reserves. And so this budget draft includes $200,000 coming back out of the transportation to offset the CIP reserves or rebuild that. I just set a target as doing that over 5 years. So in 5 years, if we keep that same consistency, we'll have the CIP fund reserves replenished, and then we'll work on the transportation reserves. Water pollution control, we continued movement towards operations and capital replacements being funded from user fees. We still have a lot of collections and plant assets that are or actually beyond their useful life, and that we have reduced the operating loss, and we're essentially this year with this draft at a break even on the operating loss or operations. And that operations does include $2.7 million of depreciation, which is a non-cash item. So we can utilize that $2.7 million to do capital expenditures. But you'll see in the totals that we're doing way more than that in capital expenditures. So we need to continue that trend of creating more operating income so that we can long-term offset the cost with that. Available reserves are minimal in comparison to capital needs. If we have a major catastrophe with a big issue with a sewer plant failing or something like that, we are going to have to either borrow funds or dip into the general fund reserves, the capital improvement fund reserve, to be able to offset it, because the sewer department just does not have enough reserves to cover that. Again, not to be alarmist, just want to look for long term. We want to build that. So what we built into this budget draft is a 5 draft is a 5.8% increase in user fees, which, if I remember right, Brenda helped me out, that represented about $3 a month for the average retail customer, residential. And we calculated, I just can't remember what it is. It's somewhere between 2 and 3, I think. So, but anyway, that's what we're proposing here in this budget draft. The water department, we were able to realize a lot of cost savings by bringing it into the management structure of the city, and so we in doing so, we were able to delay the expected rate increases that were proposed to do the offset the debt service of that $13 million that we borrowed in 2018. And so for this budget year, again, we're not proposing a normal rate increase. What we are doing is we are proposing that we take the base fee for the outside of the city to the same as what it is for the sewer, which is 2.5 times what we get now. And just recognizing that the out-of-city limits folks do not pay a tax to the city to help with that infrastructure offset. So just recognizing that. For the sanitation solid waste services, again, we've talked about this every year for the last few years. It has been honestly the one that we've struggled with the most, trying to get us to where we really need to be. We have implemented the automated trucks, which allowed us to reduce staff through attrition, and we picked up several customers during that process where we found that customers just weren't being billed. And then also we went to the second and third cards, which with a fee for that, which helps us better match the fee with the level of service that folks are receiving. And then we eliminated the commercial service this past year, which was operating at a loss, and then also partially the reason for that is that the capital is aging. So if we kept the commercial service, we were going to have to invest in the replacement of those trucks. And again, the funds, it just wasn't generating funds to be able to offset that capital expenditure. We changed the pickup on demand. The fee is now for the the free amount is now for the clean suite, which is helps us create route density and thereby efficiency. And then the on-demand is now at a fee, and we also encourage containers for the folks that are really wanting a bulk waste pickup. We eliminated in this budget curbside recycling. We did this year, haven't done it this year because of COVID, but really it reduces. We just propose to continue to not do it as curbside recycling, which allows us to further reduce staff, reduce the fuel for going past those houses multiple times in a week, and wear and tear on the vehicles. So long term, it will help. We also proposed in this budget a rate increase of $3, and we struggled with that and went back and forth, but that's really where we need to be to get to a break even. I'll show you that here in a little bit. We must continue to work on this, and we're just going to have to watch every penny and every dime that we can to pinch that down and try to get it as efficient as we possibly can. Right now, the path losses are funded by a loan from the CIP again for $455,000 to make the current year fund balance at a net of 0. But the unrestricted portion of that, or the usable, is really at $157,000 deficit. So the recovery needs we need to recover from that $767,000 pass losses plus the $455,000 loss, and we need to start building for replacement of capital expenditures. We got work cut out for us in that area. So with that, I'd like to go through some specific items for council consideration and direction for finalizing the proposed budget. If you all wouldn't mind, we'll kind of go through them in each one of them and explain it, and then open it up for discussion and so those of you that are familiar with this is the same spreadsheet that we've used, or the same format that we've used in past years. And so I'll just kind of explain how the spreadsheet works. It starts out, this is the general fund. It starts out with our current revenues over our I could see it very well. Yeah. No. So I'm sorry, this is for the general fund. The current revenues over and under expenditures, in this case for the general fund, is a $288,000 spend down of reserves, which results in a fund balance of $8.7 million, which represents 6.7% of our ongoing revenue. So again, in a good position. As we make changes, there will be a number that shows up in here if we make any changes, and it will automatically calculate our updated net, and it will automatically calculate our resulting fund balance. I put in here a target fund balance. You remember this number last year was 62%, so this is another increase, if you will, in our reserves or fund balance to get it to 65. And then again, this number will update as we make changes, tell us how far away we are from that target.
So the council says, objective is in that 64.
Yeah.
So what is the lower level?
Our fund balance policy is to be no less than 35% of ongoing revenues and no more than 75%. So the range is 35 to 75%. The sales, and so as we go down through here, we'll see several items here. The 1 through 10 are meeting ranking. If, for example, the police recruitment incentive was ranked number 1 by council during the strategic planning process, so you'll see that number here as a reminder to us. Then in this column, we'll see the amount that was requested in the budget. And then in this column, we'll see what was included or not included in the FY22 draft, or what makes up that $288,000 number there. And then we have this column for us to make changes. And it's as simple as if we unclick that, we take out the increase that we projected for sales tax, and it updates the number here, or puts that number in that column, updates up here, and now we'd be at a $408,000 loss, resulting in an $8.6 million fund balance, or $160,000 away from our target, if you will. So that's how the spreadsheet works. There'll be some comments sometimes over here. So just going down through here, in this draft, we included a 2% increase, budgeted increase for sales and use taxes, as well as 2% for property taxes. So personnel-related costs and initiatives, the health insurance, we projected a 5% increase, but now that we're on a calendar year basis, that would affect the fourth quarter of the fiscal year, so the total amount of that 5% would only be $17,581. Workers' compensation, I based that off of the quote that we received. It's $37,000 increase. We did have some good news, though. Our experience mod has gone down from 1.10 the previous year to a 1.01. So we're making progress, and we just need to keep it going in that direction. chosen pension plan contribution towards the unfunded liability, in addition to the property tax that goes there of approximately $300 and some thousand, and we also have to make up about $248,000 each year. This is now in loggers, so unless we want to get out of loggers, we must make that. But I did want to continue to show it here just to show that you do have a choice, but it's a much tougher choice now. And at some point, we gotta recover from past promises that we've made. So, the police special operations overtime is in at $50,000. I did put an option in here if council wanted to reduce that. We could do this by putting in an optional funding level of $25,000. I recommend that we stay at the $50,000 as indicated by what is in the draft. I think that program has been very effective and it's been very well used. And I think under Chief Works leadership, it has been certainly not been wasted. Every one of those projects has been a very worthwhile and productive project. The police recruitment incentives was ranked number 1 out of 10 for during the strategic planning session with council, and so it's in there at the $30,000. We had a proposed increase to add a IT network technician to for 6 months. That's a total cost of $39,900, and the reason why it's 6 months is we think it will. That's when we targeted to get the hiring done 6 months into the year. So going forward, that'll be about $79,000 annually. Wage raise, we did include in this draft a normal step increase for the majority of the staff, and that's essentially a 2% increase. And then for the public safety and fire, it's a little bit more than that because they're on a separate pay scale, but then their career path is shorter. So that's the reason for those. Total cost to that to the general fund is almost $176,000, and then also included in this draft is a 1% COLA or cost of living adjustment, which really moves the whole scale. And so we do that as a way to try to keep up with the market, keep our pay scale close to the market. I do break that down between police, fire, and general fund, and in years past we have done something different on the public safety pay plan as we did on the other pay plan. So that's why I broke those down so that you can see the total cost and then make decisions based off of what you want to do there. Under the other cost, coming in at number 2 was the branding, messaging, or the advertising buys at $50,000, and that's included in the draft. The branding messaging, I also added in there a marketing consultant to help us with getting that splash out there, and I estimated that at $15,000. The website redevelopment came in at number 6 out of 10, and that was $100,000. I did not include that in the general fund, and part was just try to do the moving the money around to where I could pay for that. And I believe since that is an improvement, since it's a complete redesign, I thought we could pay for that out of the CIP. So I did move that over to the CIP, and we'll do that later. Participation in the Whiteman Area Leadership Council housing study. The Whiteman Area Leadership Council has applied for a grant and received a grant to do a $58,000 housing study for 30-mile radius around Whiteman Air Force Base. And it's a 50-50 grant, so $29,000 out of the grant. And then Whiteman Area Leadership Council would have to fund the other $29,000. So what I'm proposing is that we participate in that and offset roughly a third of the cost of that match. Are there any other cities I do not know. I know Warrensburg participated in the last one. And that was basically a grant to write the grant. But what I would challenge the other communities to do what we do.
That's just fine, good,
Well,
good standing with Whiteman. I mean, what are we getting at?
well, first of all, I think the housing study would be very beneficial for us. So yeah, I would like to see the housing study done.
We're gonna have access to the information.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, we'd always get access to the information, but yeah, somehow though, it's got to be paid for, and the majority of the funds that go to Whiteman or the Leadership Council is from businesses and cities and counties.
And that'd also give us a partial information study for one that would tie into our comprehensive plan. It would also tie into our economic development. As we're well aware, we're behind on housing here. So it's a good part to have this little bit of tidbit of information that's feeding to that. I've always felt we've been kind of equal behind Warrensburg for gathering housing from Whiteman to here instead.
And it does show support to Whiteman, the thing itself.
Well, I mean,
Whether they know.
I think part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that I really hope to get out of this is really something concrete that we can show developers, that we can legitimately say, if you build it, they will come. You know, John and I keep telling the developers that we know we have a housing shortage, and we know we have a housing quality shortage. This would give us something more concrete to be able to show them that.
I was just do, and I think it is, like, well, is that going to be used, and then they're going to end up building all the houses on the base? Is that something that Whiteman would use to say, okay, we justify another 100 units here on base? There is no more space on base. They have bought property south of the base, over by there's a lake. I think that's the highway that they have bought part of the property over there, but there's no more extension on base for housing.
Sure. You can't decide unless you understand.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to fund their study if they're backing it until that.
Yeah. Now, this study is being contracted for and done with the Whiteman Area Leadership Council, not the base. Which is a separate
Which we're part of. So.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Do you have any idea what type of information will be gleaned?
Well, as far as what the housing availability is,
In the last one, it was also the marketability, the market that was out there. Besides the availability of the housing, you know, we got XYZ houses in this area. The value of each of the areas is also in there. In other words, let's say a house here is $150,000 and another one's $325,000. That's part of that study, what those houses that are available in that price range. It gives you that market also.
yeah. And also, this is specific to what areas are white areas of the white airport. They'll tell us where the majority of the jobs now.
Another factor in this is that we know that there's a significant number of people that have retired from the airports on a daily basis or processing out, and they like to live in this area, and they like to live in Sedalia and have a second career, but we just don't have the opportunity for housing for them. And I know that we have talked to Chief Word about using that as a tool for public safety, the police department recruiting. This just enhances our opportunity.
Okay. The annual MML conference for council and administration at $5,500. MML legislative conference for council at $1,500. Ranking number 7 out of 10 was the title cleanup work at $25,000, and it is included. Pioneer Trails dues, we stopped that in this current fiscal year, and as far as I know, we haven't missed anything. So I'm recommending that we continue to not fund that.
Title cleanup, you know how far that will get us?
No, I really don't. I don't know how many we've even got cleaned up. Now, I do believe with we can utilize loggers, and that will be much cheaper per hour. So I think it will go further, but I think we gotta get there. And get that one. The annual MML conference for the city clerk is in there at $1,100. The IT strategic planning consulting at $40,000. That's really to create an updated master plan. We did one. Oh, help me out, Monty. That's been 7, 8 years ago. Time flies, right? Yeah. So we did a 5-year plan 9 years ago. So it's definitely beyond time to update that. And technology moves so fast that really would help us a lot in being more prudent in our plans as to what technologies we can take advantage of. I'm sorry.
Security's in there.
Security. Oh, yeah.
You know, we don't want to be.
Yeah. Phone system emergency notifications. Our phone system will allow us to do emergency notifications. I'm trying to remember this. I'm not explaining that very well. Yeah. Public Works Administration, we want to add seats for the ArcGIS, which is the software that they use to track all of the assets for the public works, like the sewer and water lines, manholes, fire hydrants, all of that stuff. So to get those project managers onto that system, that's about $14,000, and then training for them on that system is about another $4,500, so an $18,500 project there to get them up and running on the ArcGIS. Police Sergeant West Point training model, that's about $2,000, and it's included evidence incinerator, and this is funded through asset forfeiture funds, and so if we remove the expenditure, we would also have to remove the revenues, because that revenue is not earned until we spend it or identify what we're going to spend it on. And but the reason why I put it in here is we obviously have choice in how we spend those funds. So if council wanted to use a different thing for the asset forfeiture fund, that would qualify them to take that out and apply that same fund somewhere else. The evidence drying rack, I do not know that. Actually, I don't know why I have that in there at 50%, but it's actually in there at the 4,200. And that is basically replacing the home built rough racking with actual racking. That'll give us more space and be more efficient in allowing the evidence to drive and then we have in here in the budget to purchase another canine and the training for that. And again, that's funded through asset forfeiture and a generous donation that we were able to receive. So again, if we remove that, we remove the revenue and allocate it somewhere else. The Citizens Police Academy at $1,800. The non-lethal weapons expansion was rated as number 5 in the 5 out of 10 in the council ranking. We were able to, and talking with Chief Borzo, we were able to really do that a lot less expensive than what we had originally planned. But we think that this really gets us where we need to be. So that's really only $9,050 only, but we had talked about it as strategic planning about $50,000. So, and it really represents shield and a few more cases. Police command and control vehicle at $30,000. This is really a pickup with a shell on the back that's capable of pulling a trailer if we wanted to set up a command and control. But really, the vehicle itself will give him the opportunity to work out of that command vehicle in the drive and keep equipment and those kinds of things. Anything to add to that, Chief?
It might be difficult having it purchasing that. I talked to Kyle and Herb today, and he doesn't have any inventory. I think it's kind of universal.
Yeah, we have a couple of other trucks on here that we'll hopefully be able to get them this year.
So far, I'll see.
Okay. Yeah. If you remember in Devin's presentation on the strategic planning, we talked about the community development to particularly the code enforcement and the building officials having incentive pay to after they get to their certification. So that's in there at the $7,300, and then the training and the certifications themselves at $2,000. So really a total cost of $9,300. So, Public Works has, I don't know if everybody knows or not, that Public Works has moved downstairs, or the Public Works Administration has moved downstairs, where part of the police used to be. And when they moved downstairs, they used to share a plotter with community development. You know, the building officials and Public Works both use that plotter. So it's not as efficient or feasible now to share that plotter, so we need to add a plotter to the inventory so that we can have one upstairs and downstairs. And so that's in there at $3,000. The community development, promotions, and events. Last year we had in there $15,000, and we used a good portion of that for promoting the wear your mask and social distance and all of that campaign and the white ribbon campaign for recognizing the healthcare workers. With the branding, still our promotion and those kinds of things that's up in the administration budget. I thought we could reduce that, but I think it's still something that we need to look at as far as doing some specific events. There is a $25,000 in here for the National Register nomination for the Victorian Towers area, and that's really a consultant to write the what do you call it, the nomination. Yeah.
So you want to do this because it's going to affect the skills of the back building. You won't talk about that. It's not the same thing. But it does say you've got to use certain materials.
But if you don't want the tax credits, you don't have to participate. So,
And
yeah.
the people in that area are kind of behind this, or aware of it.
That's part of the process that we're in right now. Architectural survey, wrapping that up. We've done before for the neighbors and all of my everyone.
So we wouldn't do this unless they want to take it.
No, I think it's a bus.
Or, I mean, I know you don't have a crystal ball. Okay. So that particular group came around and went through that. I just happen to live in that neighborhood. I don't have a Victorian house. The people who did the evaluation actually talked a lot with the residents. Okay, that helps. It was very positive. Yeah, very positive. We had a pretty good turnout on the night that we ended up with the initial board. Yeah, you're in there too, aren't you? They went to our house. Yeah.
Get you to move out of the city. I can't remember what ICC stands for, but anyway, the new building code. Yeah, thanks. The updated new codes to 2021, so we want to get the books for the updated codes so we'll know what's in them. Number 4, under the rankings, was $100,000 funding for dangerous buildings or demolition of dangerous buildings, and so that's in there. Coming in at number 2 was the neighborhood revitalization seed money at $200,000, and that is included in the draft. The code enforcement trucks, actually there was one added truck that was in the strategic planning, and that came in at number 8. And so we have that one in there, as well as the replacement of one of the cars that really is past its useful life. And so we actually have 2 trucks in there for code enforcement. Annual tax sale property redemptions, we just put the amount in that we spent this past year. So if we want to continue doing that at the same level, that's what $11,715 in there. Facility maintenance, replacement of that truck is included in the draft. City Hall entry doors with panic bars, we did include that in the draft at an estimated cost of $18,000. We also looked at putting electronic door locks on the City Hall, and we estimated that at $25,000, and we did not include that in the draft. Cemetery electronic entry locks at $1,500, and that is not included in the draft. The fence around the workshops at $14,823, and that is again not included in the draft. The cemetery shops parking lot improvements at $10,000, and that is included in the draft. The fleet maintenance, purchasing the new machine that works on the newer air conditioning for vehicles at $5,700, and that is included in the draft. The trap, neuter, and release for feral cat program. If you remember this last year, we put in $20,000, and we weren't able to take advantage of that because of COVID. The people that do that weren't able to come down and do that. We have gotten some of that done. What we put in for next year was another $10,000 for that program. I think it is being effective. We're seeing some results of it. You got anything to add to that, Randy? Both of our we have 2 animal control vans, and both of those are getting pretty aged. And so what we propose to do is replace one of those, and then use the other one as a backup. One of them gets used pretty consistently all the time, and the other one is only used partially. So if we replace one of them, that's what we would replace it with is a pickup with a bed insert, which allows us more opportunities going forward, because then when the truck wears out, you can just pick the bed up and put it in a new truck and go on. So the bed should last longer than the truck. So again, it is more efficient, I guess. They're designed very well now to help with loading the animals and those kinds of things. Anything to add to that? The truck's basically $30,000 and the bed's basically kennel durable finish upgrade. I did again move that, came in at number 9 on the rankings. I have a 10, and I moved that to the CIP, so we'll see that over there on that side. And coming in at number 10 was the meet and greet and cat play area at $9,000, and it is not included in that. For caution, yes. For the cost-sharing contracts, we have the emergency management cost share with the county and the state at $28,000, $350,000 for the joint dispatch agreement. And if we remove that, we're going to have to add back in salary. So with that note out there. The $10,000 that we normally fund the Scott Joplin Ragtime Festival, we've already received word that they're going to cancel it for this year, so we did not include that in the draft. The Sedalia Pettis County Economic Development at $135,000 is what we fund that program per year, and so we included that in the draft at the same level of funding. The Whiteman Area Leadership Council at $3,000 is included again. The greenhouse support in our partnership with Parks and Rec Department to help offset the cost there at $5,000. And then the 4th of July fireworks partner again with the Parks and Rec at $5,000 to help offset some of those costs. And then the Christmas tree parade in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce at $2,000. as you can see in total, we have basically $1.855 million worth of stuff that's included in the draft out of basically 2.1 million that we've listed here for specific positions. So with all of that, we can go back down through here one by one and see if anybody wants to make any changes or propose any changes, and we'll make this a working model.
Steve, you had some questions. I kind of want to remind council that we had paper that out shelter. You know, yes, but it's just one of the things that I've heard. We look at that, go back to it, try to find a little bit of that. If you did make the cut, it makes sense. That's that, and I was going to ask Brenda, make sure you know that you subscribe so that it goes up. You get an subscription. Is that part of that? Is that not you, that's John? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. You're right. That's both. Going back to Randy, you know what I do go participate in the meetings. That's been a discussion. To have a fundraiser. Support that. I don't know how far along we are with that. Randy might give us some. They have up to date on that. Yeah, I just recall you had pretty good argument for that.
She did.
Yeah, for sending in a petition, you've actually got, my understanding, you've got really basically right now. Is there a petition involved? A wall petition? So you're not. Okay. I'm in. Yeah, no, that answers it. There's been a lot more discussion on it.
Yeah, basically what Roger's looking at is putting like the key cards that that are electronic lock, and then there are cards, and so that you the cards you can into the workshop.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, workshop.
So that's for people that get in their grave.
Yeah, I guess. See, I knew what I was. I knew what I was talking about. You're just supposed to read my mind. Sorry, but that explains.
Okay. Would you scroll up just a bit? Is the census in there yet?
Whiteman and I kind of discussed that as we were going through the deal. I'm not real sure how much that will really help with the security. And the initial thought is that part of the problem is people driving through the shops and kind of create a blind corner there between alleys and the road. And people are making it a road instead of an access point to the shops. And so we talked about an alternative to that to fix that problem is put bollards that are communicable so they can still get their backhoes equipment in and out of there. But the other part that we were talking about with them is the eliminating part as far as security for people that are coming up and really looking through the windows of the shop and those kinds of things. Yeah, the concern there. But I really think at that price, it's not going to provide security. And, I can see that if we do this, they're going to have to open the gate all the time. It really is not going to provide security. Okay. Do I have to do that right? Anything else? I mean, do we want to scroll through here slowly?
We've got two areas, and I guess I'm gonna have to go directly to Bonnie for this. I said it on the budget thing, and there's 2 points in here. One is that study, and the other one is the personnel addition. And it's been 9 years, almost 10 years now since we've had the actual study. We're about 49,000 roughly short. If we could survive one more year and let the technicians go and do that study and get that out of the road, that'll last us longer. I think is an upfront benefit for our budget money for this year. And then come back. And we talked about that, I think, during your budget hearing. That person really wouldn't come on board till almost towards the end of the budget year. Is that correct? That's my thought.
Okay. So you're proposing to take the 40,000?
Take the technician out and leave the planning in.
My recommendation, if we were going to go there, I would rather go the other way.
For the benefit?
I really think we need the staff on the ground. I think we're struggling to keep up. Adding the staff is my opinion, is necessary. The consultants, we could go without the consultants, and salespeople always want to.
Well, and that's going to lead me to this question. That's fine. Go ahead. It is, I think, wasn't it?
Well, full-time starting in 6 months.
Right.
Yeah, it could be a part-time position. I mean, that would help. The skill sets, though, that I think we're really looking for one part-time job. But what we could do is we could pay for it in terms of consulting, and then by consulting time, per hour. But you're not going to pay for it.
Lonnie, that 39, is that just for the 6 months, or is that a full year salary?
That's a 6-month salary benefit, assuming they went full-time for that half a year.
And then the last question I have in regards to these two entities. When you perceive retirement?
For me?
Well, there's a reason for that.
I understand, yeah. It's a good question.
Because I think that plays into the factor of both situations.
I would like to go out on my terms.
Say that 39.9 includes benefits?
Yes.
Okay.
Just to add a couple of things. What Kelvin said is true. We're pretty very well used up. We've got a new community center coming on board. We've taken on the water department, and they're onboarding some technology, I believe. Regardless of that, just those two are going to just make it almost impossible to meet that for service. Our customers are these people here.
I think you convinced me. I would reverse that. Take the 40 out of the other and leave 39 in.
No, I'm.
Andrew, I'm in favor of leaving the technician.
You want to take out the?
How important is that policy to get done this year?
I think the strategic plan sets us up for the next 5 years. Like you said, we've gone a long time. We've bootstrapped off the Oakland as far as we can. We're going to face some significant challenges within the next 5 years. And I think we need to get prepared to meet them. We could put it off a year. That's your decision. However, we've got some things staring us in the face, technology-wise, growth-wise, that are going to have to be met in the relatively near future. And getting a head start on stuff, if you will, is going to pay dividends in the future. Like Kelvin said, and he and I have discussed this kind of stuff before, we like to be wise with our money. We don't want to throw money at a problem that's staring us in the face, and then end up in a couple of years finding out that maybe that wasn't the best way to meet the future. So I think an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure in that regard. So I would, if we can, I would like to do both. Have some help and get somebody here to help us guide our path. And put it in 5 years or so.
I think you would agree, though, if you had to choose between one or the other, you would choose the staff versus.
Yeah. If I had to, I don't want to give up anything.
Yeah.
If it's one or the other, I'm going to need help.
Is that strategic plan going to show us how to integrate all these systems? A path forward to that where it's not like we're patchwork and close together.
Yeah. Our first strategic plan really set up for that 5 years to where things really work well as far as everything being integrated together and working, complementing each other. And I see some changes coming that we're going to have to face. A lot of it from Microsoft, storage, networking, those kinds of issues that we're going to have to address. And no single one of those we're not going to be able to handle all of those at one time. They're going to be piecemeal, and you have to work them so that they complement each other. And that's where the consultant comes in, helps us with that roadmap, if you will.
You know, it just dawned on me, is there a possibility that maybe we're getting a little bit of the cart before the horse? And because, we have a comprehensive plan that we're working on. We're about a year away from that coming back at us. there's some major things in there. For one, is our fire station situation, where we're going to land with those, one or two, or whatever we're going to have to do there. That's part of our overall picture. I mean, yes, it's a physical thing, but our overall picture and our network side as to how we handle all this. Are we a little bit ahead with that? It's a question I'm asking. Yeah, go ahead.
So I also think you're thinking about website redevelopment, $100,000 that, you know, thinking about website redevelopment. Would that also go into, is that creating a load on our IT department?
Not
Incorporated into our strategic plan?
Should.
That in itself doesn't, unless we change how we operate it, no, it won't put a load on us. We outsource that kind of stuff now. If the strategic plan and the council were to say we want somebody in-house to develop that kind of stuff, that would definitely put some pressure on us. Quite honestly, right now, we just not.
Yeah, you could.
So that first year out of our budget.
No. In regards to branding, that $100,000, from what I understand, is the outside development.
I just didn't want it to develop more work for you.
No.
We need to find the depth.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, you're at 64.7% of the fund balance, which is healthy. You know, we were at 62, so we're still increasing. The way we have it now, you're right at the 65%. I mean, I set that as the target, but that's somewhat arbitrary. You know, somewhere in that range, I think we're okay. So I hate to be so ambiguous in my answer, but I don't think we got to get it to zero, is what I'm saying. I just think we got to be close.
Incorporate that strategic plan and that budget, fund balance, facility, parameters.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what's going through my mind is you put the one department into this, if you haven't really had a chance to do a strategic plan, if I understand correctly, IT hasn't had a chance to do a strategic plan with knowing. They did it 9 years ago, they didn't know the water department. So that's where I'm at. And I think those councils say, okay.
If you look to me, it's also,
I mean, I would say
if we were looking for places to cut, these are things to be looking at. But if you look at this overall budget, it's in the percentage range, and it's within guidelines, maybe we need to let it sit.
If we're going to have to end up doing this, I'd rather have the information now, and a plan now, then we'll find by the seat of our pants until first.
So click that and see how it impacts us. Lucas, I thought you out again.
Oh, that's all right. I'm just listening and learning.
Listening, yeah. What's your opinion on the network technician for the labor versus also the IT master plan?
Well, I don't know. It's been breaking up real bad on my end, so I'm not catching everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm playing catch up by reading.
Okay.
We probably need to pull our mic closer. A lot of us don't have very close. Okay, do we have a consensus on this? I honestly couldn't have.
Oh, okay. He said he was having a hard time. Some of us are breaking up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so he has a hard time hearing. Okay. But he'll catch up through reading, so, okay.
So did you put it in, Calvin?
Yeah, everything's back in. The only change we've made at this point is we've added in the meet and greet player and cat player.
Okay, I'm satisfied with it.
You're satisfied?
I'm satisfied.
After leaving it out?
Yeah.
Okay. Is everybody else satisfied?
I'm good at this point.
With it in or out, what do you got?
That $9,000 for the meet and greet? Is that what you're speaking of?
Yeah, I was satisfied listening to Kelvin, and you guys have talked about it more than I realized. I think you've got a plan.
We really, yeah.
Take it back.
I was saying, yeah, I was satisfied. If you're in now, I would be happy. I mean, I had said it's okay to leave it out when it closed.
So everybody else in agreement with pulling that 9,000 out of there? That's basically that starter. Okay.
We good with the wage rates? We good with all of the other, the 50,000 for the special operations, the 30,000 for the incentives? We good with the,
Can you run by the consulting versus advertising buys again?
okay.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, what was in the branding messaging, that budget that we talked about at the strategic planning was really all of the advertising buys, the media buys, the Facebook posts or the Facebook designs and all of that kind of good stuff. I don't know if I can remember what all of that was. So what I thought is that we're also going to probably need somebody to help us put all that together and keep it coordinated. Now I had talked with Callis about what that would cost, but I just kind of threw a number in there that what I thought we need some help.
So we put another proposal together for that kind of assistance. So, Andrew, does that answer your question or to a degree?
On the loggers program, back when you first started this up, I noticed there was quite a difference in the police department and the fire department. Well, I think the law plan. Can you explain why what the difference?
I think you're talking about the 1% increase. This?
He's talking about the loggers. Loggers.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything in here on loggers.
It was the first one you put up today.
Yeah.
I noticed there was quite a difference in the loggers.
Oh, the police
Program
pension?
for the police and the fire department.
Yes. That's specific. Doesn't the police include that old one that's floating around out there yet?
Yeah, and that's what this is, the old, the
Right.
frozen plan.
Yeah.
This is on top of what they're doing in law, the current.
While the old plan was taken over into the loggers. So there's two parts, and we still have money on the old.
Yeah, we have two private pension plans, or two separate pension plans. And one of,
There's quite a bit of difference in it. Back when you first started,
yeah,
I saw there's quite a bit of difference. Like one was affiliated, one was like 500,000.
On my slide?
Yeah. Well, the first slide you put it.
This is the first one. Well, I think on the introduction slide.
Talking about there?
So your point, what was your point?
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
Well, I was wondering why there's such a big gap.
You're talking about these numbers?
Oh, yeah, okay. What's this? Fire, pension fund,
Yeah,
or any difference in the two?
yeah.
Why is that?
Well, part of the difference is that the fire pension fund is ongoing.
Yeah.
It's the only pension fund for the fire department. The police, this is just the old legacy plan that they froze. Goodness, I can't remember what year we froze it. 2010, and then all of the current officers are now under loggers.
Oh, okay.
Under the loggers plan. So this is the old one. Now since then we transferred the management of this pension to loggers, but it's still our responsibility, and we still have to fund it through loggers. Loggers is just managing it, not through the logger program.
Okay.
And it is severely underfunded. I think it's only funded at 30 to 40%, somewhere around in there. So we have a $6 million unfunded liability in the police pension fund, and I think it's about a $2 million unfunded liability in the fire pension fund.
So we're in the process of making that right.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's
Trying to.
it's past promises, so I mean, we got to make it up somewhere, and the faster we get it funded, the more we can take advantage of increases in investment, which was one of the benefits with having loggers manage it. Is first of all, loggers has been very consistent about getting 7.5 to 8% year-over-year return. And then, second of all, we changed the amortization for that unfunded down to 15 years, if I remember right, instead of 20 years is what we were.
Now, 2010 was the last year.
Yeah, but time flies when I'm having fun.
So we've got 18 years left.
Well, yeah. I mean, basically what they do is every year they recalculate it, and then their amortization schedule is over 15 years. So it depends on what rates of return are, and unfortunately you have the mortality rates and all of that entered into the calculation. Council Dawson, this was what's included in that 50,000.
Okay. What value is the consultant going to provide?
Being able to design what is going to go into the social media, what is going to go into the web page, what the website looks like, those kinds of things.
So that would be included in that 75. So like take for instance the merchandise. So that $7,500 price tag doesn't include the design of what that looks like.
my understanding was, okay, I don't know.
Well, not.
Oh, no, I was asking
Yeah.
a question.
Yeah, I'm kind of dealing with my.
Yeah. That's always frustrating. I don't know, like that.
Places on this participation in the WALC. Did you have on there something about that?
Well, there's two places that the Whiteman Area Leadership Council shows up, and that's from the housing study.
Okay.
And then we also support them $3,000 every year.
But again, it's going with the first one.
Mm-hmm.
We're not guaranteed that anything profitable from that. I mean, the participation in the housing, and I understand that we're trying to get them to take this away, whether it's that was one for, and one for, something like that, I understand that. But if you're going to spend that money in something that is pathetic, what do we want to get out of it? If anything.
Yeah, I mean, we get the benefit of the study, which we get that benefit without participating, but somehow, some way, the Whiteman Area Leadership Council, that group is going to have to come up with it. And so, there's this study that covers the $30.
Yeah, we have no idea. Well, yeah. We have no idea what these other municipalities have done with their budget. They're in this situation.
Yeah, and I didn't want to offer or challenge that with just they did that cost. So I had this discussion with you guys.
Well, the only thing that kind of does is with that housing study is that they just forget we have had in the park with Whiteman Airport. They came in, they built houses, and then they just all this and that. So that was something.
And part of the thought here, at least in my mind, is to try to put that money in strategy, figure out what we can do to, benefit the budget. Which, things like the community center to Councilman Clifton's point is will help with that. What we do with Parks and Rec and all of that is a big draw. But what's the thing that I see is holding us back is this council.
We do have a positive rating from the Air Force and the people that are in the Air Force, and that's that. But, we probably have been remiss in the past of promoting that. I mean, we kind of get our butt kicked by Warrensburg. And,
When I came here in '72, Warrensburg was very active about the people who were and they counted the fact that they had college there, like you would do. They really.
and I can put State Fair Community College up against that for training. I mean, we have opportunity with these people who are processing out there. Now, does that get us anywhere? I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a blue sky thing. Any other questions? Anybody want to make any comments? It feels like if we could just remove the council salary and the mayor's, you're not going to save much.
Where are we going to get the other $10?
Want to take it out and see what it does?
Take that out. The 10,000?
Yeah. It's about where we were with that 9. Andrew?
Come back to me.
Come back to it.
What do you vote, Chad?
What are you thinking?
Oh, come back.
What we're gonna go through now? We're coming back to this, now we're gonna.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, the thing that I don't want to see happen is that people here in the area who just wanted to you happen is saying, oh, you just want to help them figure that out for us to together. I don't want that big business there where they fight the death of that. If you went in with that, and you have areas here in the area that have different years you want to get out of, but now you know you don't want to do it because of that.
I think we've always been.
And perhaps with more of that out there, that the public and the business know, because right now all they don't know. They're like, okay, so what does that mean? What does that mean? What do you do?
So this $10,000 is not gonna do anything.
No.
No, it's gonna give us a plan, basically. We can't let it sit on the ship if we're gonna do it. We can be aggressive, it's gonna be how successful we are with this, depends on how aggressive we are. Lucas? Can you hear us, Lucas?
Yeah, I think I can catch most of that.
So what do you think? Do you have any ideas?
So the idea is cutting council and the mayor's salary out.
No, the discussion is whether we keep the $10,000 in there for the Whiteman area leadership housing study.
Oh, okay, that's what's going on.
I have a hard time. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we should keep that in there.
Keep it in here.
Yes.
What do you think, council? I guess where 10,000 come from? If it's an incentive for us, what could it be 5,000? Could be. So you could slide a little bit of that down back to the 10th item that was actually ranked. I mean, that's not what I have. Or some combination. Maybe it's 7,000. Whatever. Maybe it's 7 and 3. But other than that, I kind of wonder. I know what you're trying to do. But I don't know if 10,000 is the right number when we've ranked all these things, and it wasn't. If I'm looking at it right, it wasn't the right item.
Yeah, it wasn't an item that I put on the strategic plan. But that is the purpose for putting it on this spreadsheet is,
Yeah, so that's my discussion.
Yeah.
Do with it what you want.
Yeah. These are some of the tougher choices, and so
Yeah,
leave them out.
it's hey. So, but I'm in favor of funding it, but I'm not sure I'm in favor of funding it at the entire level without funding everything that was right. So what number do you want to put in there? You decide. Okay. You just rock, paper, scissors. You decide. What do you think? I mean, yeah, split it. Yeah, I think.
You know, another thing to look at this is kind of a bargain, because if we were to come in and have a house inspection ourselves, we would have to come up with that higher amount. And so that's going to give us some clear facts on what direction we need to head for the type of housing. And that's what I'm understanding, right, so, right there, so.
And I hope that's the case. But it is a gamble.
To Andrew's point then, are we gonna get the same information if we spend $5,000 as if we spend $10,000? Is that what you're saying, Andrew? With that
Yeah, I'm saying if we were to come in and have a housing study done on our own, we'd end up having to come up with, what is the grant for?
29.
Yeah, so we'd end up having to come up with, but then they're having to pay 29 on top of that, right?
So it's the 50 grand for $58,000.
Yeah, so in order to get access to that information, you would have to end up paying $60,000 on our own, instead of just kicking in and then challenging other communities to get that house stuff done. So that look at that a little bit more for that information. And it gives you back to the direction of the state, so what you're gonna do. Back up.
I'm with you. Unless the thing comes back and says, hey, it makes more sense to develop between Warrensburg and Lee Summit.
Second to that, that's something we need to know.
Yeah, well,
And
that's
really
a good point.
That is a point.
That's a good point.
If that happens, if that does come back that way, we need to know why. If we're doing something wrong. If we don't have a good mayor.
Well, I mean,
Should have paid the council more.
we can't pick the whole town up and move it closer to Kansas City.
No.
Don't want to.
So, are we in agreement to keeping this $10,000 in? Any other discussion? Sure.
Okay. Anything else we want to hit on the general fund?
You recall last year, just for grins, what the percentage was, that 65% where we landed? 62. And then I think the year before that, what was it, 60?
Yeah, I want to say right at 60, maybe 61.
Lucas? Any comments?
No, none.
You want more money? Can we raise your pay?
That's a whole Medicaid problem that I would have to dive into. So I'm good where I'm at.
Miss you, Lucas.
Yeah, I should be in next meeting. I get my vaccine on Thursday, so I'm excited.
That's awesome news.
Good.
Yeah,
Sure, we're glad to have you back.
I'll be glad to be back.
You'll move to transportation?
Could we request a quick break?
No?
No.
Wow.
Roll call, please.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead and bring me a beer. Hey, Jeff. Here. If I need that. Close and Bones supposed to call me about this. Other than that, we ain't, as I got the vaccine for tomorrow.
Yeah.
We have things, kind of, kind of worried. But I won't worry. What be worried?
You want us to take something out?
We can do that. Hello? Yes, ma'am. tomorrow? Yeah, that's good. This is about. This is about. And I promise, if I go to the meeting, hopefully, if I have a coffee back. What's that? Oh, no, I'm just thinking about. I talked to John about. That. And they were, what she was doing, and I asked John. You know, we used to have that word before, like, how long before they get how much, so anytime the boy that you get an email.
Were they always on these?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I got 250 for VIP, so we can cut that at least a 10. Because that includes the aspect.
So listen, I have a count. Thank you.
Yeah.
Come by,
Yeah.
give me one
Well,
more.
good. Thanks.
Goodbye. Yeah. Found out what this is for.
I use mine all the time.
It's pretty nice, but my wife has one of those, but I didn't realize how good it was.
Well, we haven't got to the hard one. Transportation. You're ready.
Right home. Okay, Jeff is back. We're going to start talking about transportation. Gentlemen, we're ready to roll. Steve? Todd? The Chiefs are playing. The Chiefs.
Okay, for transportation, basically where we're at here again, the fund balance is we used a lot of that in the reserves for the hangar purchase. So where we're at is right now we're at an $85,000 excess of revenue over expenditures, resulting in a $661,000 fund balance at 17.7% of revenue. Over time, I'd like to get us back in that 50% range, which would be about 1.9 million. So we're a little ways, but starting to make up that difference. So health insurance for the transportation fund was basically 3,000. Workers' comp was about 10.6. The wage rates, the normal step increase was $23,000. The 1% COLA is 12.5. And then the things that we have in there beyond personnel is really some pretty simple things. The $2,000 for the airport flying-in promotion, $2,900 to add a garage door in the T hangers, and then a piece of equipment, a pavement sweeper, for $59.50 to really sweep off the apron areas and those kinds of things. Of the things that we ranked 1 through 5 in the meeting, we had the match money needed for the 65 by 65 hanger that's in the design stage at $51.4. That is included. Number 3 was $136.5 for the 10-unit T hanger, which we would need to use up this grant funding before we could even get to that, so it is not included in the draft, as well as the parallel taxiway and the reconstruction of the 523 one-way. For the street department, we have in there mosquito spraying at $2,800, which is really is less than what we've had in previous years, but that's really what we spent the last couple of years, I think. We have a mini skid steer as a trial, just basically rental to rent that to see how well it would work for us at $47.40. The concrete power rake at $2,000. The dump truck replacement, including the spreader and plow, at $153,000. We had put that in there for the DERA funding, and that's basically the Volkswagen funding. We received the grant award for our notice for the grant award for the bucket truck, but not on the dump truck.
Does everybody understand what that Volkswagen funding is?
Yeah.
Steve, you understand?
Basically, they'll fund 25% of a replacement vehicle as long as you cut the truck in half.
Yeah. Okay, I understand it.
Yeah, for the fuel efficiency.
I had some training this week. I talked to them a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So I kind of.
Way to go, Vernon. Good job.
Yeah.
So the concrete crew trailer, $8,000 is included in the draft. The bucket truck replacement with the DERA funding at 25%, both the $117,000 for the truck and the $29,250 grant funds is in the draft. Pickup truck replacement, that was actually in this year's budget, but we didn't get it. We held off because of COVID, and then by the time we released it, it's too late to get it for this year. Again, as the mayor mentioned, they're having trouble getting trucks, so we'll put it back in for next year and hopefully get it. The right-of-way maintenance, adding another commercial mower was ranked number 2 out of 5 in the strategic planning, and actually we had that in there at a higher rate. What Brenda has proposed in the budget is actually a much cheaper mower because it's a smaller stand-up that is getting through the gate as opposed to a big ride-on that we had when we were talking in the strategic plan. So that's $6,700, and it is included in the draft. As far as cost-sharing contracts, we have the $25,000 that we support Oates for transit services, and then included in that is we've again assumed ownership of the Amtrak depot, and so the net amount that we're supporting there is $9,300. Now, over time, we hope that Oates will take on more of that property, the space that was being consumed by SDDI, and so they would at least at that point have some more revenue coming in for the lease, but then we would also not be responsible for as much utilities. So we're hoping that we can get that at least close to a break even to reduce that $9,300. But at this point, we've just budgeted at what we're currently paying. I have also got in here replenishment of the CIP or the Capital Improvements Program reserves from the hangar purchase at $200,000 that I talked about on the slide, and that's basically amortizing the $1 million over 5 years. And then also, much like this year, we're budgeting to transfer $300,000 to offset some of the capital improvement street projects out of the again, that leaves us at this fund balance. Anything that anybody wants to look at, removing, adding to.
Hey, Kelly, did you say you were gonna remove that one truck? Right?
So one,
$20,000, seems like there's a pickup truck.
yeah, there's a pickup truck. It is included in the draft.
But did you say you could get it?
It was included in this year's budget, but we're not able to get it.
Oh, okay.
We're not able to get it this.
I thought, so we were gonna get it,
We hope, yeah,
in this comic book.
Yeah.
and we took it out last, in this current budget.
I thought he might have kept some good. Wow,
Yeah. Hard saying, hard telling what I said. That's what I meant. So.
Can you recount what you said? Can you repeat everything you said
No.
tonight?
Not even gonna try.
What did I say yesterday?
Best day of.
Kevin, where would the percentages be if we had taken that funding out of this for this year?
It'd be right at the 50%. Because we took out, well, it'd be actually more than 50% because we essentially spent down 1.5 out of transportation and 1 million out of CIP. So if you add the 1.5, we'd be at 2.1, and then also the extra 200,000 here. So about 2.3.
Any questions?
Do we get any revenue from, Amtrak? For the depot? We pay, don't we?
Yeah, we get about 14.6 in total revenue, and the expenses are 23.9.
But we do get, Amtrak does give us something for that.
And Amtrak, though, they reimburse us for repairs, right?
They kind of give us a hard time.
I kind of thought, but I didn't know, like, wasn't there a fee we pay them? Union Pacific? Amtrak? Isn't there a fee we pay them somewhere?
I think they pay a fee, like we just support the depot. There's the solar. Oh, there's, yeah, the lease on the UP land is around 4,000.
Is it too? Okay, but I do there stuff.
And, yeah.
Okay.
We've had some difficulty there, speaking of the depot with the vandalism. Doug is trying to get it under control. He's unlocking and locking before each train arrives and locking it. Which we don't want to have.
Everybody good if I remember in the hangar frame?
I think it's 65-40.
Oh, yeah. Okay, the 65 by 65 hangar. The engineer's estimate is that it will cost about $514,000. And then it's funded with a 90% grant from, it's through MoDOT, but I think it's an FAA grant, Federal Aviation Administration grant. And it's using up, basically you get a certain allotment of discretionary funds every year. I think $100,000 a year, somewhere, 150. Yeah. Yeah, out of that 51, we'll utilize the $30,000 part. Actually, we already used that for this year's match, right? Okay. Yeah.
How many aircraft for that particular
And that's basically the plan for that. When we originally started doing it, that's where we were going to do the aircraft mechanics. But then with the other purchases, much better spot and plant controls and all of that. And so this one will be just pure storage now. With the store airplanes, leak space for storing, which we will again provide service where we'll take it and get it out. Again, the overnight stuff.
Any other questions? Lucas? Andrew, you have something on your mind? Questions? I know. I can't hear what you're saying, so that's all I'm saying.
Ready to move to capital improvements then?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, the capital improvements, again, we talked about the timing of the loan, so this large deficit you see is really spending down the restricted funds on the construction of it ends in a roughly $2 million fund balance. What I, again, put as a target is 50%, so that would get us to 2.268. So we're at basically 275, 267, below our target. But again, looking at all of the things that we've loaned money to, the TIF, transportation, or the sanitation department, we've got those loans outstanding to come back to this, and then the refund of or refunding of some of so I think we're in pretty good shape right there with all of those other things in the ready to come back. With that, basically, I've got this $100,000 from the website development that I moved from the fund. I think I did that in here. Commercial demolition during the break. Devin gave me some really good news that today we received some of those bids, and it looks like we can cut the you can do that. But currently, there's $250,000 in there.
Does everybody know what building we're talking about?
I'm sorry, yeah, I didn't say that.
The old brewery. The old brewery. Yeah.
It badly needs to come down. It's got bricks falling off of it. We've got it basically cautioned off and barricaded off so that nobody can get to it. It really needs to come down. There is a little bit of asbestos in the windows that has to be abated. The kennel durable finish upgrade at $60,000. I again moved that from the general fund. It scored 9 out of 10 in the general fund. Strategic planning, and I did include it in this draft of the capital improvement. The monument and wayfinding sign scored 3 out of 16, and so it's in the draft at $200,000. The Katy Trail Bridge painting, easy for you to say, scored number 9 out of 16 at $500,000, and I did not include it in this draft.
Well, the Katy Trail paint,
Mm-hmm.
everything costs $500,000 to paint that.
Yeah, they.
I like to have that bid.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I got paintbrushes.
And we may find out we can get it done a whole lot cheaper, and then we'll come back and see if we can't find a place to put it in.
What do you think, Andrew?
Yeah.
Go ahead with me.
So John Simmons indicated
I'll
that
hold
we
your ladder.
might have got to get special permission to paint that, right?
Putting up a ladder there might not work too good with the truck going by.
Yeah, but we're buying a new bucket truck. Why can't we use that?
Third and Lamine parking lot, that's been in the budget of at least the last couple of years, and so it's really carryover from FY21.
So it is included in this draft. Again, what we're looking at doing there is using that hub mill that the county has purchased to use scrap tire material, and this should be a good test for us to see how that holds up. So. Storm drainage projects overall was ranked number 5 in the strategic planning, and so we've listed the next few projects here on the master plan. And I've got the first project in there at $665,000, and I do not have the rest of the projects in there to the tune of about $1.4 million additional projects. Sidewalk replacement, that was ranked number 1 in the strategic planning at trying to get that funding to $500,000 again this year, and that is included in the draft. If you remember, in years past, we budgeted usually about $100,000 for sidewalks. Last year, we budgeted $200,000, and then we came with a budget amendment to increase it up to $500,000. Partially because of that, or the reason for that, is when we did the 353 study, that really came back really high in the number of sidewalks that were in disrepair. And then also when we did the branding and the comprehensive plan survey, it came up very consistently as a huge need for us to repair our sidewalks. So that's the reason why we're targeting trying to increase that funding to get caught up a little bit there. As far as the street projects, we put all of those in there. The chip and seal at $350,000, and that's included in the draft. The asphalt overlays at $195,000, and I didn't write down the number of blocks that was, but ranked number 2 out of 16 was the 32nd and Limit Lane addition, and at $1.2 million. And I put in there, and now we haven't discussed this with MoDOT, so this might be a surprise to them, but I put in there trying to approach them to do a 50-50 match with us and see if they would come up with half of that $1.2 million. And so that's what's included in this draft. Ranked number 4 out of 16 was the Grand Broadway to Clinton Road Mill and Overlay at $350,000, and that is included in the draft. We had a 2-way tie for number 7 at North State Fair, our State Fair Boulevard, Main to Pro Energy Drive with a roundabout at $1.5 million. That is not in the draft, and also North Harding and Boonville upgrades, basically to get from Highway 50 to the airport at $1 million, and that is not included in the draft. Coming in at number 10 was the 65 highway ramps, and again, that would be a cost share somehow with MoDOT. Really, to reach that side of the project, we're going to have to look at some sort of grant funding or something like that. So that is not in there. Winchester Extension 16th to Sacagawea at $3 million was tied for 11th. At $3 million is not in the draft. Cedar Drive connection to Engineer, that's the county project that they want us to participate in to the tune of $500,000, and that is not in the draft. North Engineer upgrade railroad to cemetery is $650,000. It came in at number 15. Pro Energy to Oak Grove came in at 16 at $7 million, and that is not in the draft as well. The downtown light purchase and changing those over to LED was ranked number 14 at $450,000, and it is not included in the draft. Ranked number 6 was the fire SCBA self-contained breathing apparatuses, and I put a reminder on there, we will have to do something by fiscal year 2023, as those bottles will have to puncture them or make them unusable. Right? They will not allow us to use them, so that effectively will put us out of business, out of the firefighting business, at least on the inside of buildings. Right? But anyway, we've applied for a grant. We applied for one this year. We were denied. We utilized somebody that offered to help us review the grant, and they've been quite successful. So we submitted again. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to receive that this year, and then the $30,000 match is what's in the grant. You have anything to add to that, Chief? Thanks. Central Fire Station upgrades was ranked at number 13, and that's again, we've bought ourselves some time with the remodeling that we did at the Central Fire Station, but as we will learn from the comprehensive plan, or learn more about it in the comprehensive plan, at some point we're really going to have to take a look at that, and that was the FGM study that they pulled together, and so it's really probably building 2 new smaller stations further apart. Probably what's going to end up happening. Anyway, that was at estimated $5 million, and it is not included in the draft. We also see this that we talked about from the transportation, the $200,000 coming in from transportation to replenish the fund balance on the hangar purchase, and then also $300,000 coming in to help offset some of the street. So, went through those really fast. Any of
Kevin, so on the street light, if we did an analysis on that, are they increasing the rent factor on individual lights to what?
For LEDs, it's $65 per month per light.
So are they going to convert those to LEDs?
As they break, they cannot fix them as they are, is what they're telling us, so they have to convert them to LED.
So when they do that, how many lights are there?
120, thereabouts.
So that rent factor annually.
Yeah, we figured out it was like a 6-year payback.
6-year?
Yeah, to own them versus lease. And that was assuming that they were all LED. It would be longer payback if they because it's like $32, if I remember right, for the non-LED, and it's $65.
So if we put, with this, if we did, obviously it's not in the budget, but from a planning standpoint, if we do the replacement, we're going to be metered. I don't know what the meter, we'll do it every couple of blocks, 7 meter base.
Yeah, that would have to be in the design, and that's the other thing, that it gives you that opportunity to pigtail off of that meter to get lights and alleys. And that was one of the primary reasons for doing it, is to figure out a way to get alley lighting and those kinds of things.
Right on that last streetscape project we just completed, do you remember the cost of the meter base, or meter in that?
Yeah, I think the electrician was like $30,000 to wire it and put the meter in. The lights themselves, I want to say $18,000, and that was for 2 blocks. And so we do own those.
Yeah. I just want to make everybody understand what it's going to cost us to maintain those at the rent factor. And then with plus, they do a poor job of maintaining those, and we should not pay the rent on them when they do. Where that one that's been down in front of the up-down theater for 2 years. Anyway. Any comments, questions?
Yeah, it's I just didn't go through.
while we're looking at that. So we're saving $110,000 on the giveaway.
Saving 140. We're estimating now based off of this about
110,000 what we're saving. Or, no, that's the cost saving.
Let's take this down to one. The low bid was actually lower than that, so we didn't change the airline.
Does that include the flagging and everything? That is I heard, and that's a really good point. It's going to be tough building because of UP. I mean, it's not railroad right away. They will be on, they can't block it. Yeah, yeah. You know, this is all Steve's problem because that was his family business. That's why my great grandparents were commercial. So I hate to see that building get torn down, but I'm going to sneak down there. I'm going to come back down there and get a little bit of wood. You didn't give us, you didn't bring any beer. It was really good beer. But it'd be a little old and prohibition. It all ran down your Sedalia streets. They went in and broke it all and put them out there. That's the problem. Yeah. H-Stone's. It's legal. Oh, I know it. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I wanted to buy it too, but I got a wife. A very powerful person. We would give it to you. I know you. John tried to give it. I hate to see it happen. It's gonna happen. I've got a question. To get to. I just kind of point of clarification. We were the project reworking Grand from 16th. It was originally the 24th, and we got that water main break, and now it's the 16th Clinton Road, which is fine, but probably a year off. We've got to get those water mains, right? So that's why it's that was the original plan. So didn't we have a planning meeting and we said it was going to go to 24th, and I said, hey, it's for the 25th because well, we had the water main. So yeah. No, so what do I tell my constituents? It's going to be another year before we get out there. 24th down to 25th. I think we don't realize that it's true. Yeah. I agree, but I mean, we are going to make a repair of the gravel that's there now and come back into it. Yeah. I can down a bit. Another year. Go on out 24th or that. Picture now. We'll go through the tour now. I'm a little confused because what you said was the original plan, but the planning session, I thought it was down.
It was, yeah, and then as we were putting the budget together, we tried to take it down to just get to Clinton Road to be able.
Sense at this point.
But I mean, we can add more in there to try to get it further if you want.
Well, no, I'm not really too concerned about that. I'm concerned about, to get that problem there at 24th Grand, the water main, that water main issue. How far back do we have to go? Do we have Split Road where we have to go to, or in other words, what I'm saying is, if we go north of Flint Road, we're going to have to go north of Flint Road to make that water main. Probably not, but I would think. unless we're reline, what are we going to, is it a repair or are we going to reline? That's my question. So you've considered it, and you're certain that the rest of the place. Okay. We've still got plenty of water mains. And it's going to be an ongoing problem. But that one, I just want to make sure the one in 24th Grand Square, probably the best one in Washington. It's accessible to the time of the and it really impacts people on the north side of town. So I don't understand it. I know. Any other comments, questions? On the west side. Correct.
Well, yeah, the 600,000 in here, and that's coming out.
Right, but I was just saying that you got what is with that. You have to pay for it. Within all of this.
Yeah, I mean, I had to anticipate it. It's a cost. Yeah, so I mean, it's already incorporated, it's already included.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
If we don't get it, we're gonna, I mean, that would be either 1.3, or we'd have to not, or say something else. Bring it, sweet God. Bring it to the middle.
Okay, good. You're under pressure, think of. Use your magic.
Well, you know, I mean, I can make the argument it all should be. It's two of their roads. You know, it's Clinton Road and which is it's their road, and you know, Lemon.
You think they're listening
I
to
think
you?
we're being kind by saying, well, participate in the conference. They won't agree with me, but
I'm sorry, did you say Flint Road is MoDOT's road?
mm-hmm.
All the way to Grant?
Yeah, B Highway. Yeah. It's, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, can I ask at some point I want to absolutely, and it's partly because I was appointed and I wasn't in on it, but I probably should ask by now, the Winchester extension over to Sacagawea, that's outside the city limits.
Correct.
So I don't quite understand. You can look at it, it was rated at number 11. Pardon me? You can look how it was rated at number. Yeah, but I mean, why are we considering it all?
Yeah.
Are we going to let a developer do that?
Well,
I mean, it don't make sense to the city,
mm-hmm.
not in the city limits.
Yeah.
That confuses me a little bit. I'm a rookie here.
Certainly, before we would do it, we would want to bring it into the city limits.
Okay.
I tell you where that conversation really started was looking at Clarendon Road, and Clarendon Road really needs something done to Clarendon, and getting through there to you know, during the fair time, and you know, the ditches there. There's, you know, you're creating areas where you've got car traffic, camper traffic, truck traffic, and pedestrians all on a narrow road. And so we were looking at, okay, do we try to upgrade Clarendon, or do we look at trying to remove some of that traffic off of there?
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So long-term planning, and this is part of the comprehensive plan, is to look at creating that where you just basically take the roundabout, go on down to 32nd Street, and then that's part of how it ties into 32nd Street and Limit, is if you generate more traffic going that direction onto 32nd Street, then you're going to increase the load on that traffic light, which is already a problem. And then also there's opportunity when you look at that and look at a map, if you get all the way down to at 32nd Street, there's the S-curves there, and that's a narrow road out there to get to Cloverdale. So there again, it creates a better route to Cloverdale and gives us that ability. And the county is working on upgrades to 32nd there, getting to Cloverdale. And then you go from there on down to Sacagawea, and that opens up a whole lot of area there for development, potential development. I say all that right, John? Make sense?
Makes sense. I think that's going to be fundamental to the comprehensive plan. But not until we get it incorporated. Any other questions? Any other answers?
Do you want to see any changes, or?
Lotus, you okay? You sleeping?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with it.
Okay. Everybody good?
Yep.
Yes, I am. Wore you down, huh? CPCD, just to take a quick look at this, I think we're in pretty good shape on it. Last year there was, there was a little bit of understanding of where we were at with this fund and how we were doing things. And so this year I think it's much better. It's much more lined out. And so we're at basically using up reserves of $44,000 and ending with a $59,000 fund balance, which is 139% of annual revenue. I still think at some point we ought to get down to about 100% using up those fund reserves, but I don't want to spend it just to spend it. So the local taxes are at $42,000 a year, or $41,000 a year, and then interest. They've proposed, and what we've left in the budget is exactly what they proposed. The CPCD board at $2,000 for building and grounding maintenance, legal and accounting, this is just their share of the audit, property tax collection fees, and the lion's share of it is here in the downtown facade program at $55,000. Thanksgiving fireworks at $2,500, Criterium at $2,000 with Scott Joplin, which since they're not having the festival this year, probably won't happen. So again, that'll just roll over to the following year. And then kind of a contingent for additional events at $4,500, and then they wanted to put in here $15,000 to support alley lighting. So it gets them to $43,900 total expenditures, which is, net expenditures, or net expenditures over revenue.
Most the facade grant program is $59,500. You're not doing a bad job with it.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. everybody, I don't know what everybody else thinks. I think that's great. Let's use it. I don't know, fireworks, we're bumping, if we're not doing Scott Johnson this year, bumping this to 59.5. Yeah. What'd you say, the problem was asking what we're doing, we'll talk about. What'd you say, Steve, about fireworks? No, I think that's fine. If we get it, can we get it spent? Are we getting that spot program to keep taking advantage of?
I think we had 7, or something like that to work. In the work, I mean, the grants that we had.
So you need the money, John? That's a good place. You can spend it if we. Let's see, one of them was that's place. What was it?
One with boundary.
The boundary was one. Can I, is it just up and down Ohio, or is it, what's eligible for a facade? Okay, which is basically down all.
Yeah, it's smaller than the TIF district.
You liar. Moody Bliss is always left out. That's always on the west side of Oregon. Because your dad was so grumpy about it.
I have questions.
I'm just kidding. John, I apologize. You know, I was having fun. You're not. Me too. Yeah, okay. Well, you know, we have the, I guess, we have that uptown theater right there. That SCI. We haven't had any food. Does this, what are you doing for downtown Christmas lights this year? Does the CDC go north of Main Street at all? Are there any businesses over that were just, there's a few businesses, I mean, not Lamey's, I'm not sure, yeah, I'll look at it. Well, it's just, yeah, I want to make sure everybody is. What are we doing on Christmas lights this year?
Basically, included again in the, I'm not sure that I did, but
Where did I see it?
yeah, we funded that out of the general fund, so, that's a good question, because I'm gonna have to check, I don't remember.
Okay, so what are we gonna take? Are we gonna take Christmas decorations? No, we're gonna leave it out because it is pretty. Cool. On the light bulbs. No, I'm talking about the light. And the reed light bulbs. Okay. 14 below is a little cold. Next item, Kim.
Okay. So with all of that, I just thought I'd bring it back to a summary here with, you know, when we go through all the budget, at least I get myself caught up into the things that we unfunded that we couldn't reach, or, you know, and getting thinking about all of the things that we'd like to do that we can't, and kind of lose sight. So I try to bring myself back to really looking at all of the good things that are included in the budget, and really more so the services that those provide. So there are really a lot of things in there. We do have a strong budget, and a lot of good things happen. So as far as what is next, we'll incorporate any of the changes or all of the changes that we had in here,
and which weren't a lot, but that's a good thing. So we'll bring that back to the March 1st meeting, so you'll have another opportunity. If you think about something or want to discuss something more, we can certainly do that at the March 1st meeting. And if we get into something and you want to schedule another work session to go through things, we certainly have the 8th if you wanted to schedule another meeting to go through some more or go through it in more detail or bring other things up. And then, but currently on the schedule is we have a hearing scheduled for March 15th, and that's the time that we invite the public to come in and make any comments that they want to make as far as what they'd like to see changed in the budget or like to see, council to consider. And then after hearing from the public, council, again, is scheduled for the 15th to consider the budget for adoption. And but then if you want, we can take all the way up to and including the 31st to adopt a budget. And actually, there are provisions if you don't get one passed or adopted before March 31st, there are provisions that take effect, but we don't want to go there. We want to get it adopted before the 31st. Then what? We need to monitor and report. The budget document as a document and as adopted sets policy, and you are technically authorizing staff from that point to go spend within that budget without any further authorization. So we need to make sure that we're living within that appropriation and within that policy that you set, and that we're adhering to the priorities that you set in the budget. And the ongoing strategy, the budget is also, in my opinion, and I'm very strong on this, is that it's a financial management tool to help us in achieving our goals. It's not set in stone. It's not the concrete. We don't want the budget to manage us. We want to manage the budget. So if we see something that causes us to change our priorities or causes us to change our minds, we have more information about something else we could take advantage of. A good example of that would have been like the UP purchase that we just were able to get done, or the hangar purchase. When opportunity knocks, then we need to use the budget as a tool to figure out how to take advantage of opportunities, not let it keep us from doing what we really should be doing. The specific strategies to watch over the coming months is the enterprise fund sustainability, with especially the sanitation. I don't want to harp on that too much, but that is one that we got to figure out how to resolve. So economic development focus, my saying of a rising tide raises all boats. So that's a whole lot easier to figure out how to do more than it is to how to do less with less. So neighborhood revitalization strategies and branding. Again, that has been something that is very high or very clear message from council is that the neighborhood revitalization is one of, if not the top priority for us, and so we need to make sure that we're focused in that right direction. And I think the branding, along with the comprehensive plan, provides that necessary focus for us as staff to and council to get us where we need to be. The housing, again, is one of the big issues there that we need to figure out how we can get more housing and create the environment that develops that. So with that, I'd be happy to entertain any questions or further comments or review anything. Thank you all for your.
I want to make one comment. Doesn't have anything to do with budgeting, and I'd like to thank Tom Olden for helping with the truck situation. Tom did a great job.
Way to go, Tom. Way to go.
We also need to remember that Kyle Whiteman stepped up and helped us with that.
I've been thinking about when we were at the people today. I think somebody would like to get in there and clear that timber. You said timber, the firewood, UP property?
No.
Instead of just goes in advance, somebody utilize that now? What do you think? Yeah. You have Steve list, I will make it a assessment of
On the, is that what's on the people? Is it
There's that.
standing tree timber, or are you talking about?
No, it's standing.
Telephone poles, or?
No, it's standing timber.
That's just kind of basic that people, personally, I wouldn't do it, because it's the same thing. Unless if you want the firewood, we'll do it.
No, I know. How else are they gonna get it now?
Is it 9 inches to the tall end?
Would the developer handle that when, if
On a horse?
someone were to come in and develop this for that?
We're gonna have to get that cleaned up before, so. Okay, well, and you don't think we can have people
You can try, yeah, I don't know, reluctant to put the public around property with chainsaws.
You don't want me to drive
I'm
over
gonna
there.
be some weird places.
I'm a safety guy.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We're not officially
Well,
in session.
Well, it's the work session. So, yeah.
Okay.
We good?
Thank you.
Thank you all.
That goes to cruise. That's all, boys and girls.
Okay.
Councilman Richardson, have a good evening.
You too.
Take care, sir.
Yep. Bye. See you next time.
Tomorrow morning, we have 2 meetings, and not sure if